Hey guys, Preston here from CWI Performance, and today we're going to be talking about how to choose the right electric cooling fan for your ride. So let's go over the two main types of cooling fans. Firstly, you're going to have mechanical fans. Mechanical fans installed directly to the motor itself through the crank and either run directly off of that or have a mechanical clutch to come on at a higher RPM. The pros of that is it's going to be traditionally driven off the crank, so you're going to see that fan running all the time. The drawbacks of that are you're going to see a decrease of horsepower, usually between 15 to 20 horsepower depending on the fan and the motor. Electric fans are going to mount directly to the radiator. They're going to free up that horsepower from the motor and allow you to have a cleaner setup, but also increase your overall cooling capacity. So when looking to upgrade your cooling package, there's going to be three things that you need to consider. The overall radiator package and how efficient it is, and then the fans. And the two main things that you need to look at are the fan size, specifically the coverage of the radiator, versus the CFM that they're going to be putting out. So what is CFM? CFM stands for cubic feet per minute, and that's the scientific method that we use to test the airflow provided by the fan. Typically, the more air, the better. However, one thing that you need to pay attention to with a higher CFM fan is the amp requirements with that fan. So overall amperage and usage is a super important thing that a lot of people don't think about in hot rods and performance vehicles. So as you're continually looking at your cooling system and overall your vehicle, you need to pay attention to that just to make sure that you're making the requirements of what your power system can actually provide. So the next thing that we're going to take a look at is the options as far as puller fans versus pusher fans or reversible fans. So firstly, the puller fans are going to be the most popular in the aftermarket in general. They're going to mount on the engine side of the radiator and pull airflow through the radiator. This is going to be the most efficient comparatively to the pusher, which mounts on the front side of the radiator and then pushes airflow through the radiator. The one con of the pusher fan is that since it is mounting on the front side of the radiator, it's going to also block off a lot of airflow to the radiator. So you're going to see about a 20 to 30% increase in overall cooling if you're going to be using a puller fan versus a pusher fan. The next thing you need to consider when choosing the correct fan for your application is blade design. So not all blade designs are created equal. Here at GC Cooling, we use primarily straight blade designs, which you're going to find on all of our 7-inch to 16-inch fans. And this blade design is specifically going to be more of a straighter airfoil, similar to something that you find in like an airplane. This design is great because it's going to pull the most airflow through that smaller shroud design. And then other options include an S-blade design. So the S-blade design is good if you want something that's quieter, but the downside to that fan blade design is going to be less airflow. The next one up that we provide is the paddle blade design. So this blade design is great for fans that have a thicker shroud depth. So this one here is going to be 3.5 inches overall in depth. So we use this design to be able to pull airflow from a lot thicker fan depth. These are great for off-road environments and other aftermarket applications where you're going to need a heavier duty fan blade overall. So there's not really one direct answer to give a solution for everyone's cooling needs. But if you follow these basic guidelines, you're going to be able to quickly figure out what's going to work best for you. So firstly, you need to consider your motor option. Are you running a 4-cylinder, 6-cylinder, or a V8? Are you going to be throwing turbos on it or a supercharger on it? And then work backwards from there. So once you've figured that out and the horsepower, then you can start to look at how much room do I have for my radiator. Once you've figured that out, then you can either find a aftermarket radiator that fits that size, or you could go to a company like CNR Racing and have them build you a custom application for that vehicle. Once you've done that, then you'll be able to measure up your core, which we've kind of already talked about, basically measuring the core from inner core to one side to the other and top to bottom. That way you can figure out what fans are going to measure up onto the core itself. Once you figure that out, we usually recommend getting the highest performance fan possible. To give you a base rule of thumb, like 500-600 horse LS is probably going to need or require 1600 CFM at minimum. But if you're running it in like a square body C10, a dual fan setup is gonna probably make about almost 3000 to 3600 CFM total. So you should be pretty covered in that. Another aspect of your entire cooling system is how you're going to wire and mount the fans. So we have a very basic system with a fan relay harness. The fan relay harness uses a single relay, a temp sensor that mounts to the motor, and then can also be used with the optional toggle switch to control the fan on and off. These are really basic. It turns the fan on either at 185 degrees or 195 degrees and then turns them off 20 degrees lower. It's a very simple, easy way to have the fan work. Another option that we have is our smart fan controller. The smart fan controller is super cool because it mounts directly to the fan motor cover, or remote mounts that can be attached basically anywhere you want it. So what the smart fan controller does is acts as a PWM controller. A PWM stands for pulse width modulation. So what that does is allows us to control the fan speed and ramp it up or down depending on what we're doing. So we have it turn on at 150 degrees at 50% speed, and then ramp up to 100% speed at 200 degrees, and then kick off under 150. Again, these are baselines. If you are having any issues or running into any troubles figuring out what fans or your cooling issues overall, don't hesitate to reach out to us either on Facebook or give us a call or hit us up at sales@gccooling.com. We'd be more than happy to talk about your cooling package or your overall build. Chances are, if it's in the motorsports industry, we've worked on it, whether it's motorcycles, cars, pretty much everything. So thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.